Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Chocolate Travels. I'm Joseph from Bean to Bar World, and I'm here with Lorenzo from Packint Chocolate Company based in Italy. So, hello, Lorenzo. Nice to meet you.
Hello, Joseph. Can I say Joe, Joseph? What do
Either
you
one,
prefer?
either one.
Okay.
It all works. So,
Giuseppe.
Giuseppe as well. Yeah, I was named after my nonno Giuseppe, but my parents decided on more
I'm guessing
Canadianized
that.
name. Yeah, a bit
Yes.
easier. So let's learn a little bit. Just introduce yourself. What is your role at Packint? Um, what is your involvement in the chocolate bean to bar world? And a little bit more about where Packint is located and all that.
Packint is a 32 years old company started by my father that was previously a sales manager for another Italian company manufacturing equipment for
Mm,
chocolate. In 1992, he started his own manufacture in a garage, and the things evolved. Me and my
mhm.
sister joined the company around 20 years ago. The greatness of my father, differently from other entrepreneurs, is that he didn't stay in the company till the day before passing. He's still with us, and
Mhm,
he's
mhm.
fishing. He's enjoying his life. And around 15, 20 years ago, when we joined the company, he left. He
Right.
still has his favorite customers. He comes here every day to drink a coffee, but that's
Very
just that.
nice. Yeah.
And that was good because young people are bringing good energy. That
Hmm,
was
hmm.
20 years ago. It was me and my sister. Now I'm not young anymore. And what do I do in the company? I started doing installations. I was going around the world assembling machines. This is one of our machines in the lab here in Italy. But I used to do installations, and I learned so much
Hmm, hmm.
assembling and starting up machines.
Right.
There is nothing better than using the equipment to to learn about them and to improve them.
Exactly.
So
Right.
then I am an engineer as a background, so I started doing some new projects of new machines. For example, our ball mill 50, that one was designed during some afternoons, again 15, 16 years ago, and then I get involved in two sales. That was
Mm,
around 2006, 2007. I started traveling in South America, and then around in 2012, we decided to establish a company in North America. In 2014 or 2015, I moved there, and I stayed there for a long time, living in Long Island,
okay.
and I still was in charge of sales.
Hmm, hmm.
And my sister was managing the company, and maybe 3, 4 years ago, things changed. My sister is now more involved in another side business that we have. She's taking care about our chocolate lab, and
Okay.
I'm more involved in the managing of the company. And what I'm trying to do is to have some new generation of engineers or salespeople or
Hmm, hmm.
managers that can handle the company, so that everything is not depending on one person or one family. We are still a family company. We are proud to be a family
Right.
company, but we want to be reliable. We want to be able to go on holiday or to go to a congress or to a show,
Mm, mm.
and everything still working.
Right, right. And I think
So
it's important to
that's it.
know that you didn't just take over the company of your father. You've been working with the company sort of at the ground level too. So you know the machines inside out. You know how to work with the customers. You've already done that for many, many years. So that's
I
really
did.
important too. Hmm.
It was nice. I remember several times I was so dirty of chocolate that they were not letting me in the hotel
Oh, really?
where I was staying. This is a
Wow.
true story. Yeah.
Very interesting.
So I had to show my ID in some places, some very difficult places. So
Wow.
But that's a good, you learn a lot.
Yeah.
Again, putting your hands on the equipment, that's something that also our customers do. So
Yeah.
when they start using, when they switch from tabletop store melangers and they go to machines like these,
Yeah.
either they have a good technical person, which is advisable, or
Hmm.
they have to learn a lot about technology.
Yeah, I remember even in the chocolatier world when we would get, say, like an LCM, the automatic tempering machines, even those, there's a lot of learning involved if you just buy it, put it in your a kitchen, and there's a lot of tinkering. Then you have to call the company on the phone and figure out all the little parameters. So it's
Yes.
not that simple. You do need some help for this sort of equipment.
Today it's much easier. Even our smallest models,
Yeah.
they have a modem. We can connect that with
Ah,
them
okay.
through internet. We have a 24/7 assistant service. So whenever you have
Very nice.
a problem or a question, we answer within a few minutes.
Amazing.
But yeah, but this is something, this is always an advice for everybody. You need to, as a chocolate maker, develop your own knowledge,
Hmm.
take a lot of notes of the experiences that you have, because switching from small machines to big machines brings a lot of productivity, a lot of improvements, but requires more commitment and requires
Definitely.
something else, which is some technical skills that you can develop or you can acquire somehow.
So let me ask you, so a lot of makers, they start off obviously with the tabletop refiners, and you can make some pretty great chocolate with those as well. And as they scale off, they begin to add more specific types of equipment, such as the ball mill or the conch, which is
For example,
uh, separate from a Melanger stone grinder. It's a different piece of equipment. It does different things. So, can you briefly tell people who are watching how does a ball mill work? How is it different than a stone grinder,
as
and
to Melanger.
what are the benefits? Why use that?
Uh, a ball mill is, first of all, is a machine that belongs to a series of machines that perform some steps that in a store melangers are all condensed in only in one single device.
Right.
The store melanger is a pre-refiner, a refiner, and a conch with the advantages of having one single machine with a reduced investment to do these three steps. But these are three separate steps that, if performed in with three different devices, they provide better results in terms of uh, final measurable quality of the product, for example, fininess or particle size distribution, and they can achieve much higher levels of productivity.
Right. And you
So
you have more control basically over different parameters like particle size,
100%, the
flavor,
auto,
more control than a stone mill.
absolutely,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Uh, the greatness of a store melanger is the fact that in one single machine you have again you have three devices within, and this is really great when you start your own company.
Hmm.
I'm not hiding. I have a store manager here.
Do
I
you?
don't say the brand, but yes, I do, because
Nice.
when you need to test maybe a new cacao,
Mm-hmm.
or when you need to, I don't know, evaluate the quality of a new ingredient,
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
a very good way to do that with a small quantity.
Right.
That's an advantage. And the disadvantage is, of course, that maybe you do not achieve those 18, 15 microns that some of
Mm-hmm.
our customers today want, because they can achieve that with the ball mill.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they do not achieve flow properties that they like because they don't have a specific device for conching. They
Mm-hmm.
don't have a very tight particle size distribution because they load all the ingredients in a stone melanger. And the fact that these ingredients are caught behind the stone wheels is absolutely aleatory. It's something that happens, but it might not happen. And so you have some bigger and some smaller particles, and the so-called particle size distribution is very wide.
Mm-hmm.
And in the moment your bigger particles are very smooth as you want, the smaller particles are very, very small, and they increase your viscosity. So
Mm.
one of the advantages of having a pre-refiner, so let me
That's a
bring
good
you
point too,
around, to
because when
have
you're
a pre-refiner that is providing you a,
okay.
let's say, a cocoa paste within the range of 150 to 200 microns,
Mm.
and you load a ball mill with these ingredients, which are very uniform, you are already helping your particle size distribution. And then the ball mill makes a great job in reducing the size of cacao. And when you load the sugar, reducing the size of the sugar very quickly. But again, these devices are low speed ball mills. Uh, Not every device that has the same name is the same
Mm.
type of machine, is the same type of product. Ball mills are very different. They can be high-speed ball mills, they can be low-speed ball mills, they can be vertical, they can be horizontal, they can have a slope, they can be something between the
Can
two
you
technologies.
just for a pause for a second? Can you very in layman's term explain what is a ball mill doing? How is it working as opposed to grinding like the wheels on a refiner? What is a ball
So
mill?
it's the ball mill is a double jacketed cylinder where this wall contains water that is heated by some electrical heaters,
Mm.
keeping the product with a uniform temperature of heating and cooling, depending on the set parameters that you put on the display. There is a shaft that you can see over there, and this shaft is moving a bunch of ball bearings. In the case of this device, around 400 kilograms, or if you want, 900 pounds of balls. The shaft, the arms of the shaft, the cylinder, and the balls are made with the hardest building materials available on the market.
Hmm.
Their impact, the impact of the balls, among them, the impact of balls and cylinder, it's generating the crushing, the effect on the sugar, cocoa, milk particles,
Hmm.
bringing them down to the final desired size. Plus, there is at the bottom of the machine, there is a pump that is pumping the product bottom to top in order to keep it uniform.
So the product, so
We
the
have
chocolate is moving while the ball
all the
bearings are
time,
pounding over and over on
exactly.
particles, right? Okay.
This is happening at a very low speed of maximum 80 RPM. Uh, High-speed ball mills, which are have a bad reputation, they spin at 800, 1000 RPM. So we're talking about 10 times the speed of this device.
So the
And the
benefit of a
disadvantage,
high speed is that it does everything quicker, right? That's the point.
so that's a very good question. It has a higher productivity, but not the higher productivity that you would expect. Spinning at 10 times the speed of this device, you would expect at least 8, 10 times the productivity, and that's not the case.
Okay.
Why so? Because most of the high-speed ball mills, they are loaded from the bottom and the product goes out from the top. And this is generating a counter effect on gravity. So uh, you are
Mm, mm,
giving up on that part of the mechanical work, and you lose that. And so
mm.
the only mechanical work that you have is the rotational speed. And a lot of this mechanical work goes into friction and heating. And so not only you are not using well your energy at high speed, but you are potentially, and not only potentially, but you are effectively spoiling the product by exposing it to very high temperatures. Um, these machines at low speed, you can keep the temperature easily around 40, 45 degrees centigrade without any particular, let's say, any particular problem.
Okay.
High-speed ball mills,
So that,
these machines have a cooling system, of course,
right.
uh, because friction is generated even at low speed, but it's much more under control than any other industrial technology. These devices uh, have a much higher control on temperature than when you make machines spin at 10 times the speed of this device. Uh, and high-speed ball mills also have, of course, uh, temperature control, but it's mostly used to reduce the temperature of something that has been already exposed
Already
in
too high.
micro scale. Yes. So you have examples of milk chocolate where the meat proteins are basically cooked during
Mm,
refining. It's something you don't want to. And the other great disadvantage of high speed and of other technologies is the metal contamination. Low speed ball mills, at least those that we manufacture, add to chocolate 4 per millions, 4 parts per million of iron. High speed ball mills add up to 200 parts per million. We're
wow.
talking about an enormous quantity of metal,
Right. Right.
uh, which is not just a problem of life of the devices. Of course, it's a problem of metal contamination, and that's something that we get very often as a criticism to our technology. Oh, you are adding a lot of iron, a lot of metal to chocolate. Yes, not our machines, but the technology itself, when you spin at a very high speeds, it has this side effect. But that's not the case of these machines because and this is one thing that I'm very proud of. It's more than
That's a big difference,
25 years
4 to 200.
to
And
that's a big
what,
difference.
when you have that extra amount of iron in the chocolate, other than just higher levels of heavy metals, which you don't necessarily want, what else is happening? What is it doing to the chocolate?
Iron is a very powerful catalyst of oxidation of cocoa butter.
Mm,
So you tend to have a product that can become rancid, especially in conditions of high temperature or moisture very quickly. It's something
mm,
you don't want to.
mm.
Again, it's not just a matter of taste, because a lot of
Right,
metal has a bad taste. It's a
right,
matter of life of your product. It's
right.
something you don't want. Um, so the idea behind these machines was that we have to, let's say, um, get the best out of the ingredients that our
Hmm.
customers are using. Machines do not make miracles. They just
Right.
keep the quality of what's going in. So in order to achieve the fininess that is considered a quality value for chocolate, the flow properties, meaning the viscosity and the mouthfeel and the way it melts and flows in the mouth, um, you can have something, you can control something during the process, and it's something that uh, you can achieve by using the machines in the right way. The machines, though, do not make miracles. So if you have bad ingredients, it's very difficult that
Right,
they
right.
transform them in something good. That
Yeah,
that happens several times. You can improve. You can improve, or you can eliminate some defects.
right.
Ball mills, as well as conches, have blowers that remove during refining and during conching, remove acidity, humidity,
Mm,
off
mm,
flavors.
mm, mm.
Uh, let's say that you have some smoked beans from the Pacific
Right. Papua New
area
Guinea
that,
or something.
well, you mentioned that it can be any other origin,
Right.
but Papua New
Yeah,
Guinea beans are sometimes a mess.
yeah,
So you with our ball mill and conch, you can kill the bad flavors. You can
right,
also kill the flavors. You can eliminate the defects of the
right,
cacao. And
right,
of course, it's not going to be something memorable, but you can use it for couverture, for confectionery.
right.
You can use one of the devices and one of the add-ons that we have on the conch, which is uh, we call it the infuser. You can infuse in the conch orange peel flavor, mint, something that helps you to recover a chocolate. Of
Mm,
course, it's
mm.
not a single origin as you would consider that, but
But you
machines
can
can
still
help.
preserve it. Yeah, yeah, not waste the product because of some
Yes,
fault at some point. Yeah, no,
yes.
and again, that's kind of reiterates the idea that the more control, right? When you use a stone grinder, yes, you can keep grinding to expose that acidity, get that acidity to oxidize and come out. but those machines give you a little bit more specific control over that. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely. You
and like you
control
said,
temperatures, you control
right.
speeds,
And like you were saying
you
earlier, the
can turn on and off.
particle size
Yes, go
distribution is
ahead.
very important, right? People, a lot of new beginner chocolate makers, they don't consider that. They just think you grind, it gets smooth, and that's it. But a lot of chocolate makers, they'll grind in the stone grinder a long time to get it very smooth. But what they don't realize is that they're actually making their chocolate thicker because of the more surface area of the particle size, less cocoa butter. So you're saying that your ball mills
Okay.
can
This can happen also with the ball mill.
Right, right. But if you do it properly, the ball mill can reduce the particle size without too much surface area, and you get the consistency you want, the texture you want, and the fluidity you want if used properly.
Absolutely, yes.
Right. Good. Wonderful. So let me just ask
Saying,
then, why would
if you use
some,
the tools that we provide.
right. So let me just ask why would a chocolate maker opt for a high-speed ball mill? Are they a bit cheaper than the slow-speed
No,
ones?
they
No?
are not
Hmm. So they just don't
at all,
realize the
but they
benefits.
have another advantage that our machines don't have. Supposedly they make a lot of chocolate, so they produce 100, let's say a 50, 60% more than a low speed ball mill.
Mm,
So sometimes I don't say that craft chocolate makers don't use high speed ball mills. That's out of doubt. But this is something more concerning the industrial chocolate makers, those that
right,
don't process great ingredients
right.
or great beans. Uh, and of course, it's a matter of productivity. Our industrial lines uh, can make up to 1,000 kilograms per hour, so around
Wow.
uh, 2,200 pounds per hour, even 2,400 pounds per hour, uh, but not more than that. If you consider an industrial chocolate maker, that's, I don't say R&D scale, but it's
Right.
something for
But
really
it's
small and secondary products.
right. But it's good for craft makers to know because maybe they see a high-speed ball mill for sale somewhere. It's a really good price. It's good for them to have the information that they can get that, but then, it's not going to create the same result as a slow ball mill. So
Can
good,
I
great
say
information.
something for a craft maker more
Yes.
interesting? Uh, More than that, I would tell to craft makers not to believe when some experts tell them, no, you cannot make a great chocolate with a ball mill because it's going to overheat or contaminate your
Mm,
product with
mm,
metal.
mm,
That's not all ball mills are born the same under the sun. So
That's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. So a lot of people that are watching my channel, they tend to be more small scale craft chocolate makers and enthusiasts. And a lot of people in general confuse a specific stone grinder to a conch, or they'll call a stone grinder a conch. So can you explain to people, what is the main difference between an actual conch and a stone grinder? And what do they do? What's the benefits of using them?
it's very good question. It's something that we have to clarify very often.
Mhm.
So someone even invented the verb conch. I'm conching
Right.
the chocolate, and they actually mean refining.
Right. Right.
So the thing is, in the traditional chocolate process, which was performed with another technology, which is the technology of roll refiners. So 5 rolls with a decreasing gap one from the
Right.
other, and the chocolate was going through these gaps and being refined. It's a great technology for very high productivities. Uh, in the traditional technology, you had three different steps when you were making chocolate. The first was pre-refining for cacao. The second is refining, and the third is conching. Refining is a process of particle size reduction, where we want to bring down some solid ingredients floating in the cocoa butter, because chocolate is physically is a suspension, so it's a substance where we have solid particles floating inside fat, and they are not melting. They need to be broken in order to reduce their size. And this is performed by refiners. The refiners reduce the particle size from the initial size of sugar or solids of cacao, milk powder, and they bring it down to, especially for the bigger particles, they bring it down to 18, 20 microns, which is, or less, which is the size that averagely the human palate cannot perceive anymore. So when we talk about a fine chocolate, it is a chocolate that has its own solid ingredients brought down to 18, 20 microns. Now, craft chocolate makers using our technology, they even go lower. Manoa Chocolate is refining chocolate down to 16, 15 microns, 14, which is increasing and improving the mouthfeel, and at the same time can be challenging, as we were saying before. But very important, the step of conching is a step of flavor development and improvement of the flow properties of chocolate.
So let me pause you just for a second, because in a simple stone grinder, you let it go usually for 2, maybe 3 days. And in that time, it's reduction of particle size, but there's also flavor development there. So is there not some flavor development in the refining at a larger scale when you're separating the three pieces of equipment?
Of course, flavor development happens all the time, especially when you expose a product to heat. Conching, which was invented by Mr. Lindt over 100 years ago, was a process of mixing and heating, exposing the chocolate to the atmosphere in order to volatilize the compounds that were considered off flavors to remove moisture. This happens everywhere, even in a tempering machine is happening, if you think about that. But there is a moment, and it's also happening during refining. In our ball mills, again, we have a system to remove, a blower that removes the moisture and the acidity during refining. We have a device that is injecting hot air, which are all great devices, and that are helping both the flavor development of the further step and the improvement of the viscosity. But it's not the core of what the ball mill is doing. The real process of improvement of the flavor with specific parameters that you can control happens in the conch. Our conch, this one here is 500 kilos or around 1,100 pounds conch, but we have even smaller models.
Do you want to maybe show us the conch a bit closer?
Of course.
And then we can talk
of course.
about it.
Let me turn the camera if I can. Give me a second. Yes. So this is the ball mill, and this is our vertical conch. Vertical conches are, I have a camera operator here with me. So
oh, nice.
our conches, say hello to Giulio behind the camera. Our conches are devices that are implemented behind the design of a very old conch that was manufactured in Italy by a company that is almost not existing anymore, but that a very famous chocolate maker named Guido Castagna helped us design. Our conches are heating the chocolate. They have a stirrer with a scraper that is producing a thin film of chocolate on the double jacketed wall. They have a pump that is pumping the product bottom to top for the oxygenation. They have an extraction of acidity and humidity, and they have an inlet of hot air. And all these devices are meant for the flavor development, and you can control them in 4 conching phases with all of the possible combination of different parameters. But the other very important component of this machine is this device here, which we call this blue one. This is the motor. It's what we call the shear stress device. The shear stress device is forcing the passing of chocolate through some tiny gaps, and the scraping effect of this rotor through a stator. These are very technical terms, but we are again forcing the passing of chocolate through some tiny gaps. The scraping effect is releasing from the surface of the solid particles, is releasing part of the cocoa butter that was trapped on the surface of the coarse solid particles of sugar, cacao, milk. The
Mm.
surface of the solid particles is not smooth like this surface. They
Right,
have
right,
peaks and valleys, and a lot of cocoa butter is trapped on that surface. So the more we are refining, so we are crushing the particles, the more we are exposing surface and creating surface, and the more these particles are absorbing cocoa butter.
right.
So less cocoa butter, higher viscosity. That device there, working for 4 to 6 hours, is releasing cocoa butter as if you added 4-5% of additional cocoa butter to your mix. So
Hmm.
it has an incredible effect on the
But
chocolate
that cocoa butter is
by
coming,
reducing.
that cocoa butter is coming just
It's not
from,
added.
right. It's
It,
coming from
it
the
was there before.
mixture. Right, right. That's amazing. Yeah.
Exactly. It behaves like if we added
Mm.
additional 4-5% cocoa butter, but it's not. It's the same
And that's
recipe
a
that
lot. That's a lot of cocoa
you
butter.
had
Yeah.
loaded from the bottom. That's a lot. That's a lot. And of course, this is good. Today, cocoa butter has a price which is incredibly high, but it was good also before to keep, let's say, the organoleptic properties of your chocolate under control, because the more cocoa butter you add, the more you can dilute the flavor. So some chocolate makers don't like to add cocoa butter, and
Right,
most of our
right,
North American customers do the so-called two ingredients chocolate, just
right,
cacao and sugar.
right.
And the conche is very important in that sense. So let's go back,
And the
Julia.
evaporation
Thank
of
you
the
for
water, that also increases,
helps a lot.
lowers the viscosity, right?
Absolutely.
Right. And that's important.
Absolutely. You are 100% right, because the removal of moisture is helping so much
Right.
the reduction of viscosity.
And you can't
So
really achieve
the
that with
com
the stone grinder to the same extent.
you so the greatness again of a stone grinder is that you can do a lot of things on one single machine. But
Right.
for example, while you are refining, you are also conching. And
Mhm.
while you are conching, when you
Right.
release the pressure of the wheels, you are still refining, because the weight of the stones is still there. So with less pressure, but it's still operating. So you are not actually controlling well. I'm not saying that because the taste of a chocolate is something so
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
personal,
Yeah,
but and there are a lot of great chocolates made with stone melangers.
absolutely.
I tell you a story of another customer that we have, Fred from Svenska Kakaobolaget in Sweden.
Mm.
He was a very tough customer to convince. He came here to our lab twice or 3 times to validate the process. He was a very happy user of stone melangers. When I visited him after he installed ball mill and conch, he told me this: look, I am achieving flavors with the same cacao that I was using before, flavors and textures that were absolutely out of my imagination before. Today, I have a much higher control on my cacao and my chocolate
Mm.
that I had in the past. Again, I'm mentioning him because who knows him in the field knows him as a very very thorough chocolate maker. He
Mm.
doesn't take any decision lightly.
Mm.
So for a long time before deciding it was good for him. And again, by achieving a finer, because one of the aspects of stone melangers is that you can spin for a lot of days if you want, but it's difficult to achieve 15, 16 microns, or I would say almost impossible with the stone melanger.
Yeah.
Having a very fine chocolate provides a better, not a better, but a different experience in the perception of flavors because our receptors have are covered much more by smaller particles. That's a physical thing, but
Right.
the flavors that we perceive with a given recipe with a coarser or a finer chocolate are different.
Yeah,
We can
exactly.
we can
Even
tell
if you
that as
were
consumers.
tasting chocolate that was refined for 12 hours with sugar and you have chunks of sugar in there, that changes the perception of the overall flavor because you're getting big hits of sugar, big hits of more acidic cocoa solids. So
Absolutely.
that changes it as well. And I think also certain beans are really good for stone melangers, certain origins, certain cacaos they don't have a lot of acidity and they can work really well. But certain origins I find um, that have tend to have a lot of smokiness, a lot of acidity naturally, do benefit a lot, I think, from that sort of equipment because then you can really spot and take out what you don't want, which you can't do
Yes.
in a stone
I
melanger.
agree. I agree with you. Uh, there are origins, which is not a country, but an origin can be a farm, can be an
Yeah,
year of
yeah,
harvest,
yeah.
that are much easier to be processed, and some other origins are really challenging. But again, another good customer we have is Maru in Vietnam.
Mm,
They started with the conch. Now they have a ball mill. We were good friends with Samuel. Now Vincent. Uh, they 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 have their own style. They don't conch too much. They like the
right.
citricity of their cacao.
Yeah.
So when the greatness of our machines is that you as a chocolate maker you can play a lot
Mm, mm,
and you have control.
right.
You want to do something, it's not the side effect of the technology that is preventing you to do what you want.
That's a good point, right? And that's what I encourage a lot of people, whether they're tasting chocolate or making chocolate, is to develop your own style. So even if you do upgrade to these specific equipment, you're not creating one style of chocolate. You still have flexibility to create the style that you want. And for those people who understand more the refining that you refine maybe 3 days, how many hours in the pre-refiner, in the refiner, and in the conch
So the
generally?
pre-refiner is a continuous machine, so the flow is continuous. Chocolate makers or just enthusiasts can see the videos on our
Mm,
social network pages because we have hundreds of installations or videos from the labs. The pre-refinery is a refiner made with one couple of rolls, two couples or three couples, depending on the productivity, and
mm.
the nibs go through, and they get out at around 150 to 100 microns. Is the machine that has the highest productivity among our
And
setup of devices.
does it come out like a flake or like a paste? What's the end
Flakes.
flakes?
It
Okay.
it comes out like flakes, and
Okay.
it's one of the most visual machines because you see they are all enclosed.
Mm,
And the pre-refiner, let me show you the pre-refiner. The pre-refiner has a belt, and
mm.
you load the nibs from the hopper, and the belt download. And it's one of the most visual machines when you have a factory that has a behind the glass concept.
People love to see that. Yeah.
You know a company called Dandelion Chocolate.
Right.
Dandelion Chocolate,
Yeah.
San Francisco. The cover of their book
Right.
has a
That's the
picture
flake.
of the
Yeah.
belt.
Yeah.
That's the flake. So it was a nice picture. That's
Yeah.
one of the
Very nice.
the view of the waves is fantastic.
Yeah.
Dylan, which was a pro surfer, says that he still surfs, but he says that he surfs cocoa waves sometimes on the
I could
pre-refiner.
see that. Yeah. Wonderful.
Coming back to your question,
Yes.
you load the pre-refined cacao in the ball mill. You let it there alone for 30 to 40 minutes, depending on
Okay.
the fat content. The lower the fat, the longer the time, and then you add the sugar. 55 minutes, you refine the mass. So in 1 hour and a half, your batch is ready at 18 microns. If you want
Wow.
to go down and you want
Hmm.
to go lower than 18, you might need another 20, 30 minutes. So in a couple of hours, you can achieve
Mm,
your
mm,
15, 16 microns. And
right.
then automatically from that valve that you see here, the machine for the small or bigger system downloads the chocolate into the conch. That happens as well in the ball mill, in the smaller ball mill. On the smaller conch,
Ah, I
there
see.
is a
Okay.
pipe that
Yep.
downloads automatically, which is convenient. You set a timer and
Hmm.
everything works
Wow.
alone. And conching time. This
That's
is
up to
something
them. Yeah.
that look, that was the answer I had till a few weeks, months ago. We are implementing something on the conches. It's a new probe, something that is measuring something. I will not disclose everything, but there is something that we are going to be able to measure, and something else that is already measurable. And we will be able to let our customer measure some sort of conching degree. This is some news. We are working on that since more than 1 year. We have really good results because yes, conching is something so personal in terms of taste. Because
Mm,
again, conching is flavor development, but also flow properties development,
right.
and viscosity can be measured. So
Mm,
you can achieve you can measure the viscosity, but flavor, and we are trying to solve that puzzle with the flavor development, providing our customer with something that can give them some data in order to know when to stop. But
mm,
averagely, conching happens overnight. So ball mills load multiple times the conch up to filling it up within your 6 or 8 hour shift. And then, so we generally combine the size of a conch that is at a size that can be filled up within 6 to 8 hours. And then during the night, you program the four conching phases with all
right.
their parameters, and the machine works alone and can even pump the chocolate into a storage tank before the chocolate maker arrives at the chocolate factory in the morning.
And for some chocolate makers, let's say, it's helpful to have the parameters too, but maybe some of them, especially if they're new to it, they want to taste as they go. Is that a possibility? Is there sort of a place where people can take out some chocolate every hour and taste it, try it right there?
So all of our machines are
Crazy.
accessible. So
Mm.
you can take a spoon and taste your
Eat
chocolate
as
all
much
the
as you
time.
like.
Yes, of
Good, good, good.
course, of course. And this is very important,
Mm,
extremely important. You open the door, everything shuts down.
mm,
So one of the things we are very proud of, not just our after sales service, which is something very important, all of the protections of the machines. We try to think whatever can happen, because things happen. Operators sometimes get tired, they have their own problems and they get distracted. These are very powerful machines,
mm,
and
mm.
everything you open, the machines stop,
Close. Safety.
and they have protect for the safety of the operator and the safety of the machine.
Wonderful.
Um, so this is very important. You open the door of the ball mill, everything stops. You open a conch, it stops. You open the hopper of a pre-refiner, everything stops. And these are
Wonderful.
the challenges that we have normally when we get requests of a system. Oh,
Right.
the machine doesn't work. Yes, it didn't reach the temperature, so you have to wait 40
Mm,
centigrade
mm,
in order to start it again, because the machine was probably switched off for a few days. You cannot turn it on in 15 minutes.
right.
So, and these
Right.
are examples of situations
Right. But you
that
guys
happen.
are obviously there for the customers anytime they have questions.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are there, WhatsApp groups
Wonderful. Yeah.
help a lot. We have around 8 people at very different time zones that are available. Most of the times is, as I said, distractions, events that happen. outside the use of the machines, for example, power outages.
Right.
But we are there.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
there.
This might be a difficult question, but when would be a good time, do you think, for a chocolate maker to scale up, adding more of this unique equipment?
You
Do you have
don't
any?
need to scale up as a chocolate maker. If you are happy being small
Mm,
and you have other sources of income, maybe chocolate is just one of the things that you sell at your shop. You
mm,
don't need to grow up.
mm,
Growing up is something that is advisable if you only rely with your business on chocolate.
mm,
Because there is a critical volume that makes chocolate making profitable, and this volume is not matched with stone melangers. You can
right.
validate your brand, you can validate your product, you can introduce your brand to the market, but it's very difficult to be profitable if you only make chocolate and you only use a technology that doesn't allow you to make more than I don't know, 10,000 pounds per
Mm,
year.
mm.
Is a critical volume. You have to go in order for this industry. Bean to bar is a great industry, but
And
if I have to be frank,
does your company
uh,
advise that? Like if somebody comes to you and say, I'm not sure, is this right for me? Do you guys sort of look at what they produce and help them decide?
uh, many times we had to tell the customer that the technology is not good for them, and we pointed
Mm,
them to stone melanger suppliers. We are friends with everyone, with
mm-hmm,
DCM, with Coco Town, with even with FBM. We
mm,
have to be frank. If your volume is small, you don't need to buy
right,
a big machine, because to grow, there is always space, but to reduce your productivity when you have a big machine is very difficult.
mm,
So
mm,
there is a limit over which our technology makes sense, which is around 5 to 10 metric tons per year is something is the threshold where you as a chocolate maker can consider to use our technology.
mm-hmm,
Under that, unless there are specific technical reasons, for example, you need 15 microns, or you have a very difficult product that cannot be made with other machines, unless something like that, they can keep using stone melangers. That's out of doubt, and
mm-hmm,
we
mm-hmm,
are perfectly aware of that. On the other side, I have to be. I have seen in the past 10, 12 years a lot of chocolate makers disappearing because they didn't get the challenge of growing. Growing
mm,
is really difficult in many
yeah,
senses. The
yeah,
space, the power, the people. Machines are easy. We help
yeah,
with the machines. The
yeah,
machines are an easy chapter, but it's whatever is surrounding. It's not easy, but there are some great chocolate makers that are not there anymore because at some point their will, their perseverance was not enough anymore.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Businesses need to be. I'm saying something that is not very uh, popular, but they need to be profitable. That's my
right,
message to small, medium chocolate maker.
right,
If you are not profitable in one way or the other, maybe you can be profitable with variety. You don't do
mm.
just bars, you do truffles, you do spreads, you do food service
Cookies,
chocolate, or
whatever.
you do volumes,
Mm,
cookies, whatever, cakes,
mm-hmm,
coffee.
mm-hmm,
But there are some great chocolate makers that are not making chocolate anymore because they didn't have
yeah, yeah,
their headaches, their pains,
yeah, yeah. No, there's a
and
lot
that's a
of
shame
troubleshooting.
because
There's a
they
lot
were
of
uh, they were great makers.
Yeah. Yeah. When it comes down to business too, it people think that if they make an incredible product, that's all they need, and everything's going to fall into place, and that really is not the case at all.
Lost you.
It really comes down to numbers. I know a pastry chef who was an accountant, and they were really good with numbers. Their pastries, I think, oh, they were nice. They weren't amazing, but they're really good with crunching the numbers, with knowing how to make it profitable. They became really successful because of that. So that's a good point. It is very important. It's not just about the quality of the product. There's a lot more to it than that, especially if you want to grow.
That I'm very happy to say. You want to make chocolate, you want to start your business, and you don't want to use other technologies. You like this technology, but you don't have, let's say, enough experience or enough capital, or you want to just prove a point, and you don't want to invest a lot of money to buy all of these machines. In our lab here, we offer a service of
Mm.
business incubation. Let's say you want to launch a brand, you can do it from here. And then if it's going well, then you can invest in devices and in machines. So that's something that several chocolate makers, of course, European chocolate makers did, uh, and they were successful.
So that's something. So the test lab is something that you offer in Italy, and I think do you offer in New York as well? You mentioned
We
in
we
Long
do,
Island.
we do, we do. Of
Okay.
course, we don't do business incubation because it's much smaller, so it doesn't allow very high productivity. Although
Okay.
the lab in New York can make easily 100 pounds of chocolate per day. So
Mm, mm,
it's not as big as this one, but you have a certain productivity, and at least you can test the technology. We have customers going there every week to test their ingredients, test their beans, test the machines, of course. And we are 35, 40 minutes east of JFK, so it's very convenient.
This might be a silly question, but if you think about the coffee industry and the bread industry and wine industry, there's people out there who try and manufacture sort of uh, larger scale equipment for the people that kind of want to do it smaller scale. So do you think that it's possible? Do you think that's something you'd want to do in the future where you can sort of create the effect of a conch at a much smaller machine, like much smaller equipment? Or is that just a bit
So
silly?
I I know, no, it's not silly. We receive this question every other week. Why don't you make a smaller ball mill? Our smallest ball mill, which was the one that I was showing before,
Over there.
is for maximum 10 kilograms or 22 pounds,
Mm, mm.
and minimum 6 pounds, 7 pounds, so 3
Okay.
kg. Uh, but it doesn't have any financial sense if you want,
Right.
because its cost is not that different. I mean, it's different, but not 10 times less than this one.
Right.
And
Right.
why this? Because aside the building materials, all the electronic components, the electric components are basically the same. And why that? Because our idea is that from a small machine to a big machine, everything is scalable. So if you start with a smaller machine and you want to just increase productivity without losing quality, and you want to do that with our devices, that has to be possible. And in order to do so, you have to have all of the devices that we have in the big machines, also in the small machines, and that makes them more expensive
Mm, mm.
per kilogram produced. So at some point, miniaturizing what we already have, it's impossible, physically
Right.
impossible.
Right.
Even weld the ball mill, it's very difficult.
Hmm.
So if
Hmm.
we want to keep at least what we consider an idea of quality, because quality is something sometimes very personal,
Hmm.
but if we want to keep the same quality of chocolate that we achieve with our bigger machines in our smaller machines, there is a physical limit at some point.
Right.
And
That's
so
good for people to
uh,
know. Yeah.
yes, it's very difficult to manufacture a tabletop ball mill. One company was trying to do that, converting it into some sort of an appliance.
Hmm.
It's a real
Hmm.
good project, but it never came to light. It's probably 10 years
Interesting.
they are talking about that, but
Right.
it was never available
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's really difficult. You
Yeah.
need numbers like appliances, and that's something that
And then to make
we
it
don't do anymore.
affordable for people in the price range they expect, it's going to be high volumes made somewhere in different conditions. So it gets
Somewhere,
very
exactly,
complicated. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
Um, so let me see here. Dun, dun, dun. Has the huge rise in cacao prices recently, have you seen an impact on that in your industry? from the manufacturing point of view? Has that changed anything or not quite?
Mm, Again, our company has two sides. The industrial one, where our customers are using liquor and butter or
Right.
powder,
Hmm.
and they do chocolates or compounds or spreads, and that part has been affected.
Okay.
I say this,
Interesting.
uh, yes, because the cost of the materials has doubled, tripled. The price of cocoa butter now is out of control.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about that, the machine that we sell most is the one that has absolutely no financial sense, which is our cocoa butter
I was
press.
gonna ask,
Uh,
right? You excel that.
but again, those manufacturers were impacted by the increase of the ingredients.
Right.
Um,
Right.
for bean to bar makers, today I was speaking with one of probably the only one Greek bean to bar maker. I was speaking with Aris, and we were discussing about the impact of this incredible increase in the cacao price on the bean to bar industry. It's probably in this moment a financial issue, meaning that you need more money to buy the beans that you are buying for less money. But if you check the overall cost of an average bean to bar maker, the ingredients were never affecting so much. It's the labor that is affecting the cost of manufacture. You interviewed the guys of Lareca a few episodes ago. Uh, the packaging, the manual handling of everything, that's what is really affecting
Oh
the
yeah.
fact that you load a stone melanger, you need one day, or not one day, but several hours to load the machine, and you have one
Right.
operator that is costing you 25, $30 per hour just to load the machine, or you have an operator sorting the beans by size, or you have an operator loading, or these are things that can be solved. Prices of cacao, they can go up, they can go down, but
Right.
they play a really big part in the overall cost of
Mm.
manufacture of a bean to bar maker? The other thing I'm saying that impacted the bean to bar makers is the availability of cacao, because
Mm.
some of the farmers that I was I cannot say the name, but in Central Europe I visited the customer in spring. I went, no, I don't say why, because otherwise you locate the place, but I was there, and he told me that he was so disappointed. He went into bean to bar because he wanted to give something back to the farmers. And then all of a sudden, his farmers he was working with for years and years, they don't sell the beans to him anymore, because they don't need to select the beans or ferment them as he wants.
Mm.
They can just sell them to anyone with the
Right.
prices that he
Right.
can get.
Right.
That's what I felt with among our customers, the availability of the quality that they were
Mm.
used to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some, not all, of course.
That's a whole other discussion there is, what's happening at the cacao level. And it's not as simple as this farmer wants to sell their cacao to this maker and it's a happy
I'm not,
relationship.
just to
It's much
answer
more
your question,
complicated.
we are not seeing a lot of impact on us with
Mm.
the B2 bar world,
Yeah.
because those that have the possibility, they try to reduce their costs by increasing their automation or their productivity.
Right,
So
right. And that's a big point with the cacao prices going up and the cost of living and whatnot, things like that. Focus on efficiency. It's amazing to me, these small scale makers, how many varieties of origins and varieties of flavors they have. Because a lot of these larger manufacturers of chocolate, they just have a few options. And it's much more efficient to just pump out a couple products versus 20, 30 products. When you're changing the wheels like that, it's very, even just from a chef point of view, working in the kitchen, we have so many different products to do. It slows you down tremendously. It's a lot of labor there.
yeah,
So that's a good point.
I,
That's a good point.
I'm saying something again that is going to be not very popular, but uh, as well as what happened after and during and after COVID, this turmoil with the cocoa prices will eliminate some of the naivety that we have in
Mm,
the bean to bar industry. So those things that
mm,
some makers do just because they feel from their gut that they want to do something like that or different, and they keep that product that they are in love with, but it doesn't sell, and it's absolutely not efficient, or they do that in a way that they like, but it doesn't have any financial reason. All of those things will be cut, and
Right.
some efficiency will come to the system.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. And some people, maybe for them, it's more just a hobby, maybe it really is not a business.
Of course, if
Yeah,
it's a hobby, if it's not a business, good for you. You can enjoy your own cacao and chocolate. You can roast in your oven. You can
yeah,
hand peel,
right,
and you can do your batch of 2 pounds of chocolate. Fantastic.
right.
I did that with my kids with the Stone Melanger at
Nice.
their school to show how chocolate is made. It's so it's great. It's great to see to show that, and I am happy. If this is a business, all of these details are extremely important.
Do you want to say what makes Packint unique from other manufacturers? You said you have some good relationships with some other ones, but what makes Packint unique, would you say?
Every manufacturer will say the best of
Right.
himself. We are learning a lot in our labs. We are learning a lot with our customers. We try to stay humble and to bring to the machines any possible experience that comes from our customers. And we are very focused on I say, their happiness, or they're feeling well with the equipment. So many times, something that any other manufacturer would consider stupid in a modification on a machine, or in a question or in assistance, from us is kept at the highest level of attention. So this is what makes us different from other industrial or even craft suppliers that do huge numbers with machines. We don't have one machine that is the same as the other. We
Mm,
personalize
mm.
everything. We even put your name on the machines. So we had customers that wanted machines colored, and we tend to say yes to a lot, but
Mm.
this is bringing improvement and
Right.
development. So
Yeah, and I
that's
think
the
from
unique part.
the way you were talking through our conversation, it sounds like you do have a lot of synergy with your customer. You're not just building machines saying, here you go, figure it out. You're honestly sort of on the ground floor, still working with the customers, just like you have been. So I think that's
Yes.
really reassuring for a lot of chocolate makers to know, especially if they want to size up, because there's a lot of anxiety doing that sort of thing. So I think it sounds like you're really
Yes.
there for them, and that's really nice to hear. And
I
what is
had a
the
couple of things. I had a couple of things, if I can
Sure.
quickly. Another thing that we like to do is to measure and to analyze everything. So if we state something, there is some science behind, and we are very proud of that. Who knows us, knows our labs, knows the
Mm,
tools, the
mm,
instruments that we have, the cooperations we have with other important labs. So whenever we state something, when we say a number, there is some analysis behind.
I like
And the
that.
other thing that I say that is unique is the availability of these labs. So if you mentioned something, anxiety, when you have to spend $50,000, $100,000 in your investment, you want to be really sure that you are putting your money in a good
Hmm.
direction. Another good thing that we can propose to our customers is the opportunity to uh, remove all of that anxiety that you might have when you have to spend a lot
Mm,
of money in new equipment. You can just come here, stay with us. We are in the north of Italy on the hills, a lot of vineyards and wine houses around, good restaurants, and you can enjoy a working holiday. You can work in our lab. You
beautiful.
can bring your own ingredients, or you can work with our ingredients, and you can operate the machines. You can clean the machines. You can maintain the machines with us
Mm,
and spend a few
that's
days
amazing.
here. And you like it, you see that it's good for you, you go ahead. Otherwise, you had an experience, you had a good time in Italy and or in New York, and then
That's a good invitation, definitely. I like that.
yes.
Excellent. And so what is the best way for people to connect with you? if they're interested in your products?
Info@packint.com, packint.com, or chocolate_machines on Instagram, or
Okay.
Packint on Facebook, and we are there all the time, 24/7. Everything I say is something that you can that you can see yourself with us in our labs or with our machines.
No, I love it. Just like in the bean to bar world, they talk about, be transparent and direct and to the point, and you exhibit a lot of those. You guys are very honest and open about everything, and I think that's really helpful for the people who want to get involved with that. So, thank you very
Thank you.
much, Lorenzo. It was a pleasure. It was wonderful to learn about your equipment, and I love the feedback. Hearing all the information that you shared with us was really incredible. So, thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much for this opportunity.
Yes. All right. You take care. All the
Merry
best.
Christmas to everybody.
Merry
Bye-bye.
Christmas. Ciao.
Bye.
Download the free Bean to Bar app to connect with makers from around the world, either where you live or places you'll visit. Also be sure to visit beantobarworld.com for all things fine chocolate, including professional chocolate tastings, chocolate tutoring, online shop filled with bars, tasting tools, and more, the free learning center filled with research, history, science, videos, podcasts, and much more. Sign up for the newsletter to stay in touch, and feel free to donate to grow the free app and free learning center.